For Bockus and Whitehouse over the free kick. Oh, flicks header, it's there! Aage Fjortoft has started the season off with a goal, 32 minutes into the game. Sheffield United lead 1-0.
Hello again and welcome back to our Inside United podcast, where we talk to Blades players past and present about their time at Bramall Lane. And on this occasion, we thought we'd add a Norwegian flavour. Now, we tried Jostein Flo, but he was busy. We tried Roger Nielsen. He was busy. Obviously, Sander Berger's a bit busy at the moment as well. So I'm afraid you're going to have to make do with Jan Aage Fjortoft. Of course, I'm joking. Welcome along, Jan. Lovely to see you smiling away there. How are you?
I'm fine. And yourself?
Yeah, good. Thank you. I like the backdrop.
Yeah.
You thought about this?
I thought about that. I used the backdrop for some TV jobs I do in America for, we're talking about German football, but today I have to find my iconic Bramall Lane outfit from the 90s.
With the Ward's Brewery on the middle. Exactly. I like that. So where are you speaking to us from? You're in Oslo, are you?
Yes, I'm in Oslo. A man that loves to travel and do a lot of traveling in my job. Has been now home for 4 months. I do 2 flights in Oslo, in Norway, but no, I haven't been abroad for 4 months. So now I'm in the bedroom of my son. My son who is not living at home, but he's still got his bedroom at home.
How is Norway today? What's the weather like? Because I was in Norway some time ago for a stag do, would you believe, by the fjords, which was stunning. It was quiet, but stunning. Are you anywhere near the fjords?
Everybody in Norway will be around near a fjord because I'm 100 yards away from a fjord at the moment called Oslo Fjord. But like you said, Norway is a beautiful country and it is. I love to stay here. We had in the Corona time, we had fantastic weather. Now it's a bit back to normal Norwegian summer where we miss the sun.
Now, obviously, we've got you on to talk about your time at Sheffield United. Take us all the way back then. What do you remember about joining Sheffield United and how it all happened for you at the time?
Well, I had a lot of clubs in England on a short period of time because at that time, every manager thought that if we only got a striker who can score us goals, we win every game. And they were thinking, well, even we lost 3-0, they would think, well, we had 4 goal chances. If we had a goal score, we'll win 4-3. Fortunate for me. So I started in England. I started at Swindon Town when we were up. And then I went to Middlesbrough, was a part of I must say, more or less a revolution at Borough, where they went from the old Stadium Ayresome Park into a new stadium. Brian Robson was there. They got a lot of new players coming in, and I was at that time when they signed me for £1.3 million, I think, their record signing, and a couple of years later I was not even top 6 because we kept on buying players, which is how our business are. So then they bought Fabrizio Ravanelli, who was just a fresh new striker for winning the Champions League. They bought a Danish national striker. As a Lady Diana would have said, it was a bit crowded up there. So I saw that I had to play football games. That was the most important thing for me. So I was a bit frustrated I didn't play. I came in my last game for Borough. I didn't know at the time was my last game, was an FA Cup game. We were struggling. I scored a very important goal for them, turned my shirt around, ran to Brian Robson and pointed out my name. And 3 days later, I was at Bramall Lane. I remember that quite easy because it was the first time I spoke to Howard Kendall, and I was at the parking lot of Riverside Stadium, and he said to me, "Hello, this is Howard Kendall. Hi, how are you?" I loved Howard Kendall. He was a part of my youth when I grew up, Howard Kendall, of course, and I knew about his merits as a manager. I knew he was at Sheffield United. So he said, "I've talked to Brian Robson and Jan will take you on loan of the rest of the season." And I said, "I would love to come to Sheffield United. I know all about the club from my youth. I know all about the tradition at the club, but there's no chance that I would go on loan. You have to buy me, Gaffer." And I said, "Okay, I'll call you back soon." And then he called me back like 15 minutes later. And he said to me, "Listen, we agreed a fee with Middlesbrough Football Club." And I said, "That's great, it's good news. So put yourself on a car and get down to Sheffield." And so I did. And it was a bit embarrassing because I remember I couldn't find Bramall Lane, but that is before Google Map. But when I found the Cathedral of Sheffield, from then on I was a Blade.
What was the club like when you joined it? What state was it in?
Well, we have that secretary, didn't we? What was his name? Who was
Charles Green.
Yeah, who made a habit of ruined clubs, and he was there when I came there. My first game away was Howard Kendall there.
Yeah.
I didn't know a lot about Howard Kendall. I knew about his reputation. I knew about the rumors around his habit of drinking and eating. No, I'm not joking. We all heard about that Howard Kendall thing, but we felt that was normal in England at that time. Remember, I came to England in the second Premier League season, so I was a part of also the old habit and tradition of English football. My first game away, my first game for Sheffield United was coincidentally Swindon Town away, where I started my career. We lost 2-1, but what I remember from the game is that I was sitting in the small away team dressing room, and McDonald, the president at that time, McDonald, yeah, he came in, and I've never seen him before, and he just came over to me, shook my hand, and said, "I hear you're a lazy bastard." And then I said, "Yes, I am, but it's too late now because you spent a lot of money on me." So that was my start at Sheffield United.
Oh, I absolutely love that. Obviously, it was your dream, I read, to play in England, wasn't it? And what's interesting is, I think you were one of the first Norwegians to actually play in the Premier League, weren't you? You kind of blazed a trail.
Yes, I was. There was not a lot of them. As we grew up from 69 and onwards, I'm born in 67, we were used to have the match of the day as we do in Scandinavia, and we were following the teams, and every kid will then follow different teams. And I remember the Sheffield United, the reason I knew about Sheffield United was there was a cousin of my dad. You know, everybody at Leeds United, Manchester United, Liverpool, or maybe an odd one, Chelsea or whatever. And then he was a fan of Sheffield United. So I always remember that when I signed for Sheffield United. It was so funny thinking back to my youth. But as you said, yeah, it was a dream for me to play in English football. I went first to Vienna. I played 4 years for Rapid Vienna in Austria. I had a coach called Hans Krankel, who was not the best coaches of the world, but he was one of the best goal getters in his generation, which was very important for my development as a goal getter. And I remember flying into Heathrow at the time when I've signed for Swindon Town. They were newly promoted, and I thought this is a dream come true. I was a bit funny enough that my first game for Swindon Town was Sheffield United away, so I think history played their always game, and I got a bit injured. So and I kept on playing, and I struggled a bit in the first half of the season, the Premiership, before it exploded. And yeah, it was a dream, and it still is. I mean, I follow English football very closely, and I still get that, and I'm glad that I still got that feeling of being a kid, being a fan. And I think one of the reasons I kind of connected with all clubs that I played for, more or less, was that I was always a fan, and I was always a fan of football. And then so people ask me, but how was it then to start at a new club? Well, I identify with different clubs straight away because I knew how much important that was for every fan. And I guess when you're also a goal getter and also a good spirit man, I think that will kind of, people will see that.
It was a good squad though, wasn't it, that you came into at Sheffield United? Some good players in there. Yeah,
it was a great team, and we ended up in that season going to the playoff final, of course. That is another story. Just remind me that I tell that story. Yeah. But we ended up having a great team. There were so many good players all around the pitch, starting with the two good goalkeepers in Simon Trace and Alan Kelly, and then so on and so on. Dave Whitehouse, and there were a lot of John Hutchins, and there were a lot of players who can play with Mitchie Ward, and we had a lot of strikers. That we have an unbelievable striker with Gareth Taylor, with Walker, with myself, and Kachenko. Kachiro. Yeah.
Dean Saunders.
Yeah, Dean Saunders came. Brian Deane came. So it was a fantastic place to be a striker, at least if you played, because there was sometimes got crowdy as well at Sheffield United. But good for me that I scored a lot of goals, and I think that from all the professional clubs, my average goal scoring was at Sheffield United absolutely the best. And I was surprised when I came to Sheffield United how big the stadium was, how fantastic that cup was behind the goal, and I think I connected quite well with the supporters straight away. And it was just was just a brilliant to be in a big football city like Sheffield. That was the first time I was in a football city. Middlesbrough being a great, I mean, up in northeast with Middlesbrough, Sunderland, Newcastle, fantastic area of football. But you had a feeling in the city where you have the red part and the blue part. Unfortunately not, I was not able to play the derby, but still you just felt that passion in the city.
Was there anybody at United that you got along with in particular, someone who you really bonded with in that dressing room?
Well, we had Roger Nilsson. It was Norwegian, of course, so that was that was easy. But well, you know, I was playing professional. I tasted more or less my first alcohol after I played football. But I was always important for me to be with the boys and go out with the boys. There was always 16 pints and a Coke, please. But I always went with them, and then I kind of disappeared when things are going a bit more hectic. So now I wouldn't say there was any particular. I mean, I lived in an area, I lived 100 yards from Nigel Spackman, who was a very young assistant manager, then later.
Let me guess, it was indoor.
Exactly.
Yeah. The footballer's belt.
Yeah, close to the football club and close to Aberdale Tennis Club, where John was a big Blade fan. We used to go there with my little son. He got a little son in Joshua, and we were doing a lot of tennis and football things. So it was a great atmosphere there. And to be fair to Howard Kendall, I mean, we could write a book. I mean, they've done a movie that I look forward to see from his time at Everton. But he was a character, and the people he had around him. I mean, you had John Bales, and you had Viv Busby, you have Nigel Spackman. It was just like an unbelievable thing with Howard Kendall at home games, okay, but at away games we put ourselves in the bus. The first thing he did, he was taking off his clothes. This is our gaffer, this is our manager, only in his underpants, walking down at the end of the bus and talking, where are we playing cards? And this was Howard Kendall, a legend as a footballer, a legend as a manager with what he'd done at Everton, but he kind of made a fantastic team atmosphere. And although I must say that I at the beginning I lived still in Middlesbrough, and I was more in Middlesbrough when I played for Sheffield United than I was when I played for Middlesbrough, because if we won on a Saturday and we won a lot of games, then the gaffer would come in and say, okay boys, see you Tuesday. And then we were in Tuesday and Wednesday, and then he'd say, okay boys, see you Friday. So I was like commuting to Middlesbrough, and I was at home all the time. So Howard Kendall, I'm not saying that he was not a modern coach, because his management skill being a leader was second to none. It was unbelievable. But I remember when we played in training, we could play 13 against 13 all over the pitch, and Howard Kendall and all the staff were playing with us, but we were winning games, so nobody cared.
Exactly. Was he a good man manager then, would you say?
Oh, he was a very likable manager, and he kind of, it's never to underestimate a football background, because you knew when Howard Kendall will give you a compliment, when he wanted you to do this and wanted to do that. I mean, you listen carefully. Maybe this was not his. It was in the middle of '80s with that fantastic Everton team and everything that he achieved there. But he was a great character, and you respected him because he was there for the players. And then he had his nights when we went, or days when we after training went to the Chinese, and everybody had to tell a joke, and if you didn't have a joke, you have to pay £10. And it was just like, if you think of it now, it's like unbelievable, isn't it?
I mean, you had a great scoring record actually at Sheffield United. Probably your best scoring record, was it, in England? All right, it was a short run towards the end of that season, but you really made a difference and enabled Sheffield United to get to that playoff final. Why do you think it just clicked for you?
Well, I think that when we have a look at that team, first of all, Howard wanted us to play forward. He was offensive in his mind. He wanted us to explore ourselves. And then we had a lot of players who had that kind of gene of going forward. A lot of players in midfield who were great footballers, who will always look for you, will always find you in that space, and with good crosses at both sides. And so for a striker, it was great to be a part of that team, because I always was a striker who needed a lot of crosses, as number nines do. I was an old-fashioned number 9, and so we created a lot of chances. And I had, through all my career, and I've been been fortunate to score a lot of goals in 4 different countries. And when you get older, you think of what were your strengths. And I think my strength was that I was always close to the goal positions. I was always close to when things happen in front of the opposition's goal. And with Sheffield United, there was a lot of going on in the 18-yard box. 18 is in England. It's 16 in Norway, 16 meters. 18-yard box and things like that. So they create a lot of chances. I knew that if I was always patient, if I always follow up, if I always was looking for the best opportunity, the best scenarios, I will always get my chances. And I was quite good at taking my chances. And I missed a couple of chances in my life as well. But that was one of my strengths. When I had the chance, I was scoring. And I was not the fastest, I was not the strongest, but I had a good eye where to put myself in positions when some of my teammates came in good positions. And I also had striking partners, like if that was Walker, it was Gareth, or the Belarus guy, Kachenko. I always struggled with
Peter Couture.
I know.
Yeah.
Couture and later then Brian Deane. They were strikers who was easy to play with because they worked very hard. I was not a big hard worker. I was one of them who thought that, well, sometimes to stand still was the best movement I could do. And because I wanted to be in front of the goal. So I had those kind of partners who were easy to play with. And like with Brian Deane, still a good friend after many, many years, and we still keep in touch. And it was a great atmosphere at the club, a club that together with the fans, they were, I mean, the fans were very knowledgeable. So they understood that something was going on now. This was a chance going there. And I think that, and we're not going to the end now, but I think that was also disappointed them when we saw that we had something going on when we took on new players again for the next season. But it was a great atmosphere around the club that we were scoring goals, and we were scoring goals for fun.
I remember the playoffs. You played Ipswich, didn't you? And you scored, I think, in the first leg. Am I correct? I think you scored in the first leg.
Yeah, it's the first leg we played 1-1, and I scored a goal because I remember I was running all over the pitch to celebrate with the fans on the other side of the pitch because I got that photo, and we thought that Ipswich we were not playing our best game, and we were thinking of playing away from home, Portman Road. They've scored 1-1, so I said to my wife, I think we can plan going in holiday because this is going to be tough, but I think that because we had our young son, and we had a pregnant. My wife was pregnant, and we were thinking, well, we can go home. And we went to Portman Road, and we did one of our best performances all season. We were so up for it, and it was a very, very intense game with all the kind of scenes happening. And let's put it out. I think that who was the manager of Ipswich at that time?
That's a good question. Who
could be Jim Smith now?
It wasn't Joe Royal, was it?
I'm not sure, but it doesn't matter. So we qualified for the playoff final.
It might have been Joe Royal.
Yeah, it could be. But I remember that game because Howard was celebrating the win after the game, and when we came into the dressing room, he said, "Well, boys, what we do now? We go to Isle of Man."
Oh, right.
And we were like. Yeah, and we were looking at each other and say, well, we're going to Isle of Man. And I asked one of the players, because, what is that? And I say, well, this is a party island between in the Irish Sea. And we are going there now, six days before the playoff final or whatever. Yeah, so and then the kit manager asked the gaffer, and he said, Gaffer, are we bringing footballs? And he said, fuck off. And that was the dressing room of Portman Road. So we are going to Isle of Man. I have to call my wife, and I say, listen, I got one good news and two bad news. Good news is that we've qualified. We are at the playoff final, which is my wife is not very interested in football. So I said to her, this is a big, big thing. There will be 90,000 Wembley. We are talking about 120 million pounds if we qualify. So what's the bad news? Well, we can't go home, point one. And point two, we're going to Isle of Man. And she said, you're going where? We're going to Isle of Man. So I'm just coming home now, and I have to pack and go to Isle of Man. So we are going to Isle of Man, which is a party island. We were at a party island. We were partying. And Roger Nilsson and myself, we had to kind of carefully go out to try to train, not to be seen as we go training. Okay, so we go to Isle of Man. Crystal Palace with Steve Coppell, they went in a training camp. Seeing back now, maybe it would be a great idea for us to go there as well. But we had great fun, and when we came to Wembley, there is a photo of we losing 1-0, of course, in the last minute with Hopkins scoring in the 90th minute.
Yeah.
And there is a photo. I got a photo at home where everybody lying around me on the pitch, and I'm standing like thinking and looking like a Greek professor. And I guess I was thinking at that moment, maybe if we were better prepared, we could have done that. I'm not saying we could have, but I got that feeling at that time that we didn't do everything right. Having said that, and I don't want to talk bad about Howard Kendall. Howard Kendall have used the same tactics so many times when we're winning games. So, but sometimes, and I guess that is the story also with Brian Clough, when you hear about the stories, what they did before the game, the old Nottingham Forest team winning, but we don't hear a lot about the stories when they were losing games. And being a professional player that also played for my country, I knew how important preparation was, but we were close, but not close enough.
So you didn't do any training at all?
Well, we did 3 days or something when we came home from that trip but it wasn't good. Well, I love the Isle of Man, brilliant place to be, fantastic, and I could love to go to know, but I'm 53, but I was not the place to go some days before the playoff final, so honest I got to be, but I will underline that, because without Howard Kendall's man management, we will never have gone to the playoff final. So all in all, it was also deserved that we were in the playoff final also because of Howard Kendall.
Yeah, I remember being at Wembley. I was actually in the tunnel. I was just starting out my radio career, and I was in the tunnel working for local radio at the time. I don't know why I was in the tunnel so close to the end of the game. I don't know why I was put there, but I was there. And the gate was obviously across the top of the tunnel. So I was kind of looking through the fence at the top of the tunnel, and the goal was at the other end. Yeah, and the one thing that has always stuck with me from that day is the absolute silence between Hopkins striking the ball and the ball ending up in the net down the other end.
It took for ages, didn't it?
Yeah, time just seemed to go really slow. And then you heard the roar, and it was like, oh, it's happened. It's gone in. And to lose in that fashion when you know there's just no coming back from it, it's devastating.
No, but I think that also sometimes when you lose, and I've lost a couple of games in my life, is that when we're not up for it. First half we were terrible, and I remember Howard Kendall came in at a half time, and he asked Roger Nilsson, "What the fuck are you doing?" And he went on the Norwegians at that time, and Roger Nilsson was starting arguing with him. And I remember he said to me, "Jan, what have you done in the first half?" And I said, "I've done fuck all, but maybe we should concentrate now what we're going to do." Hopefully it's allowed to swear on your podcast.
We'll bleep it if needs be, don't worry.
Okay, so I said, "Yeah, Gaffer, I have done nothing, but maybe it's time now to think of what we're going to do in the second half." So we were a bit better in second half, but we didn't play out our best in that game, and it was a very unfortunate game, and we lost the biggest game that you can lose, really.
It's always hard to recover, I think, from an event like that, isn't it? But just to move on a little bit, Black Thursday, as it became known, I remember that vividly too, when you and Brian Deane were sold on the same day. Goodness me, I was in the car park at Meadow Hall, would you believe? And I heard it come on the radio that Brian Deane was leaving to go to Benfica, and you were going as well to Barnsley. I mean, that was just, for all Blades fans, that is a day that they will not look back kindly on at all.
Because
what do you remember about it?
Yeah, I remember. The funny thing is, it's one of those things, and I think that is one of that tie that keeps a bit Blades together. And I remember Chris Wilder, and I felt that was he sold a player a couple of years ago, and he said something like cheeky, and he said, "Well, it's not like we're selling Fjortoft and Deane on a Thursday, isn't it?" And and I think it was Warnock as well used it in a metaphor for something that was going on at one of his club. But when we came back from the playoff, when Howard Kendall left for Everton, and and he took some players with him, but we still managed to have a great team that season. Nigel Spackman was coming in as a fresh manager with young ideas, new ideas to how we're going to do. And one of the best games of the season was the first game of the season when we beat Sunderland at home. We had the two Greeks coming to our place, and
Tridalis and Vaspabokis.
Exactly, they learned to play backgammon, which is my favorite game now, by the way. And winning, and the big one is winning the Euro later. It was like unbelievable. Struggling with his back when he was at Sheffield United, but we had a very good team going. We were doing well with Dino coming. We had a great team. We had a good partnership. We were scoring goals, and you had that feeling that we were going somewhere. And we didn't know, we read about it and we heard about it, that maybe the finances and everything in and around the club was not 100%, but as a player you tend to like shake that away and you don't know anything about it. And I bought my house in Sheffield. I bought my house indoor. I said to my wife, we were talking about that we love to live indoor and we love to live in Sheffield, and I look forward to be there for many years, because this was a club that this was my third club already, and we were going into I wasn't there for many years, so we were getting young. Oldest daughter was born, and we felt so at home there. So it was not that we had no plans to leave, and I was like, I guess 31 or something. So I was coming to a time where I could go soon to Sheffield United and say, I will stay out of my career. I can play here. Is a great football club in the middle of UK, and it was central. So we didn't know what was going on. And normally when it comes to the end of a transfer window, you're always a bit exciting. And when I was at Swindon, when I scored a lot of goals in the Premiership, you always look for, could there be a club coming in for you? Same in Middlesbrough, when I was struggling a bit, could I end up in another club? But at this time, I didn't have any excitement at all. I was not thinking at all that I'm going to leave the club. So we're playing Bury away. Bury at I think called Gig Lane, no?
Yeah, Gig Lane, yeah.
Gig Lane, and it was very old-fashioned stadium. I remember I was standing in the shower, trying to get a bit water to shower after the game. So suddenly Charles Green comes into the shower. So he just comes in and he said, "Listen, Jan, we have agreed a fee with Barnsley." And in my head, Barnsley, just up the road, I'm 31, it's Premiership, they want to sell me. I mean, at the moment the club have agreed a fee, I mean, then you start with your farewell tour anyway. So I said, okay. And he said, do you want to can you talk to the manager tomorrow, Danny Wilson? And I was like, okay. And then he turned around and I said, Charles, and he turned around and I said, I want all my money paid up. And he said, okay. So that was done in 18 seconds, that deal. And I spoke to Danny Wilson the next day, being one of the good guys in football. I was thinking, okay, I'm going back to the Premier League. It's just up the road. I can still live at home, the home being done indoor. And I went up there, and this is on the Thursday going up. This is on a Wednesday, and Thursday going up to sign my contract. And I'm sitting in the gaffer's, Danny Wilson's room, and he said, "By the way, have you heard they sold Brian Deane as well?" And I said, "I beg your pardon? They've sold Brian Deane." I said, "Where?" "To Benfica." And I think it was Graham Souness who was there at the manager.
Yeah, it was, yeah.
What? Have they sold both their strikers? And I knew, of course, that wouldn't come good down with the Sheffield United fans selling their main striker. So there was a very, very special day. And 2 days later, I played my first game for Barnsley. We played Crystal Palace at home. We won 1-0. So it goes very quick. And it was funnily enough, because I lived in Sheffield and we went to Springs Health Club. Now that was in Middlesbrough. We had another place in Sheffield where we always met up. And so I kept in touch with the players and I went out with the players. I mean, they were my mates. And when we got then relegated, Barnsley, then they were talking about me going back to Sheffield United. And who could be the manager then? Is it still Nigel Spackman in the next season? I'm not sure about that.
No.
No, they were talking about, because John Henry, my teammate, he went to be a manager, or you call it a manager. I will call it just a guy who was ahead, because he was not the best manager I've had. So So he wanted to be the manager, and I was not very happy there. So then I heard that Sheffield United want to swap me with Gareth Taylor. So I should go one way and he should go the other way. And of course I said yes straight away. But then somehow Barnsley said no, which annoyed me a lot at that time. I'm getting more and more frustrated. And then a teammate of mine that I played with in the national team, he talked me into come to Germany, and which now in hindsight seeing, it was a fantastic move for me, because I went from being a substitute at Barnsley in the championship to play for 70,000 Dortmund in 3 days. So that was a great move. But it was funny because the first we played Barnsley, Sheffield United at Bramall Lane in the championship. So we were standing in the tunnel, and I was playing for Barnsley, and all my friends at Sheffield United there. Everybody was there, and then Simon Tracy. I would say a fat goalkeeper. I would say that he was not thin. And he said, we were standing in the tunnel, and he said, Jan, I know because I played in training with so many. I know all about your chips, so chipping the ball. So I know all about your chips, Jan. And I said, well, the only fucking chips you know about is all the chips that is in your body, my friend. So all the best in the game. So and then 18 minutes or so into the game, I came 1-1 against Simon Tracy, and of course chipped him and did 1-0 for Barnsley. So that was a good story about Simon Tracy.
Did he have anything to say after the game about that?
Probably, but we were still good friends, and like I said, I stayed in Sheffield for a long time, and Simon was one of the good guys.
The aeroplane celebration is something that always comes to mind. As soon as your name is mentioned, I think of that. Where did that come from?
Well, I did all the different celebrations. I was one of those strikers. I would say like every goal getter was. It's not like I'm counting my goals, but I've scored 308 goals in my football career, and I did all kind of funny, strange, silly, hopeless celebration. I even did for the national team. I did the Lee Sharp Elvis one as well. So I've done everything. and the airplane. There was a guy in Norway, a guy called Alf Kåre Tveit. The reason I'm saying his name is that he said to me like 20 years ago or 25 years ago, Jan, remember, always when you talk about your airplane celebration that you have done famous, always tell me it was from me. So he started doing that in Norway, and I did that in a game at Swindon at County Ground. And in the first half I scored and did it. And on my way through the tunnel, there was this old lady, or I don't know, someone shouted, Jan, Jan. And I turned around, and with this old lady, she must be over 80. And she looked at me, and she did the airplane. And I thought, if it's good enough for her. So from then on, it was kind of my thing. And I'm not sure, but I like the story, but I'm not sure. But because when they played, because time-wise, I'm not sure things adds up. When they did Full Monty, there is a session at Full Monty when they're playing football in a park, and one of the guys is scoring and he's doing the airplane. And in my head, I am a part of Full Monty.
What about goals? Your best goal for United?
If you can find that goal, I mean, I have scored a goal that I can't find. There is a goalkeeper. One of the goalkeepers are playing a long ball. The ball is going. It's in front of the cup, and the ball is going on the way down in the left corner, not far away from where Dean Saunders made that cheeky goal. That is one of the best goals he have scored. He scored. I've seen. So I was thinking, if I'm going this way, the goalkeeper will never expect me to try to shoot, and I shoot in a half volley. So I think that would be up there with one of the best. I'm not sure against whom. So if you find that, please tell me. So, but there was some.
I'll put my people on that, Jan. We'll try and find it.
Try to find that. And so there was some good goals and during my career, and I was one of those strikers who always tend to think that. And I didn't know about that when I played, more or less. But I was always thinking, what can happen? Well, the one maybe nobody will think will happen. Like, for example, my first game in German Bundesliga, there is a long ball we're playing Schalke. It's a long ball. The goalkeeper comes out. I know that the goalkeeper's name Oliver Reck. He was a good goalkeeper, but he had a way of losing the ball, even the easy balls. So everybody was running the other way because everybody saw that the goalkeeper will take that easy. So I will run in because I think if he loses the ball, I got to stay there. And that was my first game in the Bundesliga. Another goal I scored against Stuttgart. It was a long cross in, and the goalkeeper went up, and I saw that the crossbar, he could kind of, the ball can hit the crossbar when his hands is on the ball, and that will happen. I've seen this, I think, twice in my life. I think Liverpool did that in the derby, didn't they, against Everton when Origi scored, whatever. So I've seen that twice in my whole football career. But if that happened, you got to be there, and I think that was my strength as a striker. If Day Whitehouse were going one against a goalkeeper, I was always thinking, well, there could be a chance that he will miss that, so I'll have to be on the rebound. So I think that is a kind of a goal getter's mind, so to say. And I loved scoring goals, and I was also fortunate to play with a lot of strikers. Even when Dean Saunders came in, I learned a lot from Dean, and we were always, after training, I always had a goal that after training there should be no striker, no player who trained more on these kind of things than me. So I always brought a young goalkeeper from the youth team and some young player who could cross me the ball, and doing that for fun. And when Dean Saunders came, we did a lot of finishing, and him being the cheeky goal getter that he was over a long career, I learned a lot from him as well.
It's interesting because we spoke right at the start about, the Norwegian influx into the Premier League, and players that you'll know. Roger, obviously, Jostein Flo came in, Elf. And it's interesting now, it seems to be happening again, a new generation. And obviously there's Sander Berge, Erling Haaland, there's Odegaard, isn't there, as well? Yeah. It's blossoming again, isn't it? This Norwegian kind of posse of players that are on the scene again.
Yeah,
Why is that?
We have a great generation coming up, and we can also put Christopher Ajer, who plays for Celtic. And the funny thing about these four that we are mentioning now, first of all, they're more or less the same age, but they also have great attitude. And I think that at the time when a lot of us came to England, I mean, there were a lot of things. First of all, we spoke the language. The big import of foreign players hadn't started in England yet. So even remember when Wenger came in the middle of 90s, he started getting into French players. So I was at Sky Sport talking about how to be a foreigner in English football, and now I'm the other way around, talking about how to be English in
absolutely.
So and a lot of them, we had Erik Thorstvedt, who was before me. He went to Tottenham. He was a role model. He was great attitude. Myself, then came my generation. We had Alan Johnson at Chelsea. We had Lars Bohinen at Nottingham Forest, and going down to Blackburn, Henning Berg, Ronnie Johnson, Ole Gunnar Solskjaer. And I think what we had in common is that we had a great attitude. So I think the managers, they saw that we like to improve, and we were quite good schooled, because the most of us was a part of a Norwegian national team. Believe it or not, but at Cup 2 times we were 2 in the FIFA ranking. We had a fantastic national team in the 90s, and we were a part of that team. So we were very tactical, good school. So we got it. I mean, that this was a time when it was a lot of passion. It was a lot of up to the strikers, back to the midfielder, get a ball over the back four, and we do crossing, which I love, by the way. So we shouldn't overdo it, but we were also that tactical thing to it, and that would mix that with a great attitude. I think that we're going forward now, that these 4 players, they have that in common. And I mean, Sander Berge, and I'm so happy for him that he got his goal, because that takes a bit of and an assist, things like that, helping when you come to a new club. Remember, he came to the club in the middle of the season, and it's quite hard to get into a and with that amount of money. I mean, I came to Swindon Town for £500,000, and I played a pub team in my first game, and after 2 minutes they were singing "What a waste of money." So it's a kind of thing that you adjust into it, and I'm so happy for Sander. You have the same with Erling Haaland. He's doing everything he can to improve as a player. Same as Martin Ødegaard, who went to Real Madrid when he was 16, still owned by Real Madrid, 2 years in Holland, now in Sociedad. So they have this in common, and I'm very proud of these guys, and I'm very proud of Sander Berge. I mean, not only will you get a player that he will develop and be a very major part of Chris Wilder's team, but and he has also come to a right club. And I was fortunate to stay a day at Sheffield United. Chris invited me over, and I was there for a day. And it was so great to see that atmosphere that Chris Wilder is and his team, and I would say his team because I spoke to a lot of them around the team. And I always say that, and Chris Wilder's done a fantastic job, but he's a clever man because he tried to sell himself like an old-fashioned manager. But this is a modern manager who knows his stuff, and hopefully nobody will understand that because then we will keep on winning all the time because Chris is a modern manager, and this is just for me to see. I mean, when Mourinho tried to bully him in the last game, for me, all this hugging kind of thing, taking his head and hair and everything, I think Chris Wilder reacted in the best possible way. First of all, winning, and then if you have a look at him when he's doing that during his interview, he's like, what is this? Just get on with your job and do something well at Tottenham. And I'm very, very happy. It's easy for me in England now at the moment because only one of my former clubs are in the Premiership. So it's easy for me to support one club. And at Twitter, I got a lot of followers on Twitter. And I used to do the United table, and I had a live update with the United table. And unfortunately, Manchester have gone past us. So now the Manchester United fans, what happened to the United live table? And I always say to them, thank God for Sheffield United that you take us so serious. I love that.
Now that shirt behind you, is that the one you wore?
That is the one I wore. Yeah.
I've just been looking at it while you've been speaking. I'm thinking, is that the actual shirt?
That is the actual shirt.
Wow.
That is number 9. Yeah.
Love it.
Yeah. So I came to England at the time. You know, they were not used to swap shirts. So but I think that started more or less with the Premiership and a lot of foreigners because they do that abroad, and we did it in the national team all the way. Although they wanted to punish us and say we were going to pay for it, but it was like a thing when you had a friend in the team, you always swapped shirts. I'm not sure we did that in the Championship. I don't think that was allowed, but we did it in the Premiership. So I
like the white. I like the white one that season actually.
Yeah, I love that one. Yeah, I agree.
That was lovely.
Brilliant shirt.
Really nice
Brilliant
shirt. Yeah, fantastic.
We played with that in the final. No, we didn't.
Yes, you did.
Yeah, we did, didn't we?
I think you did. Yeah. Yeah, you played in white. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. Wow.
Now, so this is the background is because I'm doing German football for ESPN, and so it more or less.
What else have you got there then?
At the back is the German thing. So, yeah.
What's the one? I'm sorry, I can't make out what it is. Next to the Sheffield United, the black and red one there.
This one.
Yeah.
This is the Jubileum shirt from Eintracht Frankfurt, and we wore that one in the year of 1999 when we had. That's why I have a good reputation in Germany because there were like 100 things that went wrong all over the Bundesliga with different kind of goal difference and all that kind of thing, and we ending up winning 5-1. And we stayed up at the same goal difference as Nuremberg, where we scored more goals. And I scored a winner with a trick over the ball that made the 5-1 goal. So that's why I'm now ambassador of Eintracht Frankfurt, I guess.
Wow, you're a busy man then, aren't you? When are you coming over to Bramall Lane next? Do you know?
Yeah, I was planning to come over to do. I was doing Sheffield United Arsenal at the FA Cup because we don't got that cup. So I was over, like I said, then in January, and I planned to go over and see a Premiership game. But now I have to wait for next year, and I was dreaming for a while that I will do in the Champions League. But still, we can still dream. But I would love to come over to Bramall Lane but now with the COVID-19, we just have to wait. Although we see that is a good sign now. You see in Germany, they will be the role model again. That they slowly will put fans into the stadium again. And I think if that's starting in Germany, if that will function in Germany, then the England will follow suit. Although Germany doing a bit better job at COVID-19 than your Boris and his government.
Yeah, we need fans back, obviously, when it's safe to do so. But it's you know
Exactly.
it's good to have football back, but it's just not the same, is it? It's
Exactly. We just had to save this season. I think that we should be happy that we managed to save that this season a bit. I mean, a lot of talking about Sheffield United not doing that well after Corona, but thank God for the Tottenham game and so on. But we shouldn't forget that. I mean, Aston Villa. I mean, that was scandalous, and you have to start well and things like that. So, but I think Sheffield United should be very, very happy. They're playing tonight, aren't they? So
yes, they're playing Wolves as we talk now. Yeah, big game. Well, Jan, it's been a pleasure talking to you. It's been
pleasure to be on.
It really has. No, thank you for joining us.
Yeah, and a pleasure. And I will use this opportunity to say that I will say hello to all the people in Sheffield, because I'm so old-fashioned that I think that this dynamic, this synergy between the fans and the players, and we played well because the fans wanted us to play well. They didn't want boring games, and I'm glad that I was a part of a Sheffield United team that loved to score goals, and I love to score goals, and people loved watching goals. So that is always a good circle.
Jan Aage Fjortoft, thank you very much for being a guest on Inside United. We hope to see you in the Steel City sooner rather than later. You look after yourself, and thanks again for your time. It's been brilliant.
Likewise, thanks for having me on.
Up the Blades!
Up the Blades!